Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patty's.
But not for you, because it'll be Friday. It's St. Patty's Day for us.
Welcome to Book Thots. We are thoughts for books, and these are our thoughts on books. For the 6th episode, we are reviewing chapters 41 through 48 of Onyx Storm, the 3rd book of the Empyrean Series. This is a part 6 of our 10-week journey.
We do have a content warning. Today's podcast is rated mature. We are Book Thots after all, so we are going to be using adult language, talking about adult topics, so please pay attention to who may be listening near you. This episode will also contain spoilers for Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. We focus on specific chapters each episode, but our conversation will include the entirety of the series. So if you haven't read them, today's podcast is not for you. Lastly, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I, maybe we, but definitely me, will at least mispronounce a name or place. Jenna will give you the recap and strip down those chapters.
All right, we're going to start out with chapter 41, chapter excerpt. What we know about dragonkind is nothing compared to what we don't. Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind. The 7th breed has shown up as soon as Violet and Andarna are alone on the beach, face to face with 6 pale blue Irid dragons who are speaking openly with them. Riddick shows up next, followed by Tairn and Atrum. As conversation goes on, they keep referring to Andarna as the Criterion and are immediately harsh towards her decisions. Choosing a human, another dragon has also chose, having the resting color of her chameleon-like scales match Tairn, and choosing her scorpion tail. We get to experience a dragon story time while Andarna recounts her entire life, including the 650 years she spent in her egg. Andarna gets interrupted a few times for the Irids to question more of her decisions, like using her juvenile gift for a human's sake, but she's quick to correct them, saying, "my human," and takes the opportunity to ask the Irids if they bond with humans. They do not, nor do they live with them. Andarna also asks if there's only 6 Irids. A male with horns resembling hers answers that there are hundreds of them. Violet realizes that Andarna's story time isn't going so hot when she reaches the retelling of the war games. It seems like Andarna isn't the only one being scrutinized, though. Violet has been weighed, measured, and found wanting. Andarna was the Criterion, left to test the peacefulness of the humans in the future generations, and our violence is not the peace they hoped for. The Irids also showed disappointment when speaking directly to Atrum, Tairn, and Andarna about what they gifted their humans. Andarna is chastised the most for whatever far more dangerous gift she has given Violet to wield. Okay, I'm starting to think Colonel Kaori may have understated the amount we don't know about dragonkind. The history we're seeing being kept at bay from every facet introduced to us is crazy. I miss my fact books. I miss characters that give me knowledge.
Andarna telling her whole life story, I picture in Frozen 2 when Olaf is like catching them up on everything and everyone is just so into it. That's what I picture her just telling her life story as.
It literally,
that's the cutest.
Like the dragons just like get comfy and lay down on the beach. Even Tairn and Atrum, like they know this is what this is about and we're in for it.
Yeah.
And Riddick's like, is this happening?
I think we're going to be here a while.
Oh, I just remember I was going to say that with Kaori, it's kind of funny because he desperately wants to study Irids to begin with. I mean, that's his whole thing on this journey. He just keeps getting pushed back, but at the same time, any little bit of information he gets, he's just in awe and wow. And Andarna is kind of like, come any closer. We'll see how this goes. So I feel like that just continues even when he's trying to like gather any kind of information for us.
Like you said, there is so much we don't know. This is the chapter where they say we are magic. What the heck does that mean? Mm-hmm. What does it mean that you are magic?
How do we feel about a freaking defenseless egg that was left with no instruction and no guidance, finds the Irids, finds her kind, no one came checking on her, our little golden one, and then she has a standard set for her that, like, oh, you were supposed to attain all this peace and make humans better and You're our criterion of which we're going to judge all the Empyrean dragons and all the humans.
It just shows how self-righteous they think they are, that they're so good at heart as a breed that leaving one behind with no instruction is going to have world peace.
Well, and their whole main thing is that they're just upset that she is weaponized. They are a battle school. They come from a battleground school. And so, like, what?
No, that's just like, it's so true. They left an egg at a battle school, a war college.
A war college.
And they were like, yeah, she'll make peace. We're going to leave war times.
I guess, like, their point would be 650 years was enough for the humans to make other decisions as well as the Empyrean dragons. But to leave it on the one little golden dragon
if
shoulders.
Their humans are anything like our humans, then that just ain't going to work. War's just going to happen.
We're just going to repeat.
We're horrible people.
Yeah.
People evolve, times evolve, technology and everything comes into play, but at the end of the day, history does repeat itself. We keep saying that with this book, or with the series in general.
And in real life.
Yeah, it is.
And in reality.
Rebecca has a point on that one.
Yes.
Do we think humans hold more power than Empyrean dragons have led them or us to believe? Because the way that the Irids are talking about Violet and her signets and all of that, it just seems like maybe humans are a little bit more in control than the dragons are telling them they are.
Of their signet? Like in control of what?
Or of the power that they wield, or just maybe in general.
I mean, that's a good question. I don't know if they'd have any magic without the dragons or without being Venin or without the gods. Because later on in like my chapters that I go over, it talks about how the magic either comes from the dragons or becoming a priestess, basically. I think that you're right. They do have more control when given the power than the dragons let on to. But I don't think they naturally have power.
Yeah, I don't either. But I think that they could find a way to gain it.
Yes.
I mean, we've seen it with the Venin, and the gods have blessed the priestesses with power in your chapters. We see that. So
I do feel like there's a correlation, though, of the uniqueness to the individual. And I don't know that might be like a big point that Rebecca might be trying to like hint out or make every time. But I just feel like every person's signet is a unique signet of even their personality, of what their desires are. And so I feel like that power comes into play in some kind of manner, even if it's not directly linked on the page. But I feel like it's kind of like underlined in a way.
These chapters do make me question, though, how much it is their personalities choosing their signet. They very clearly say that Andarna gave her this power.
yeah, they say that specifically to Atrum and Tairn too. Like, they know what the humans wielding, and they're telling the dragons that they gifted it to them.
I don't know if they're just saying you gifted power or you gifted this specific power. But yeah, I mean, it just reiterates there's so much we don't know that the dragons do know that they are hiding. Even Tairn is just so secretive sometimes it bothers me. And Andarna, where they just want Violet to kind of stumble upon facts and come to her own realizations. Like when she wields for the first time and they don't even tell her that was her wielding. Are you trying to make it hard for her to test her? I don't feel like it would have been that hard to be like, okay, and by the way, that was you using your power.
Well, Andarna does make it very clear that she just followed in Tairn's footsteps in that regard.
But they get so mad at her for choosing Violet, for giving her any type of power, and then being the weapon in this sense. And I just feel like, well, if you left her at the War College for 650 years and you thought that this was all going to change, what did you expect?
Andarna did choose the most scribe-like writer. She literally says she waited for
But if
her.
Tairn hadn't chosen her, would Andarna have chosen her?
Andarna was there.
She was there,
Tairn.
but she did not choose her first, right? She
No,
chose
but
Violet.
She does say that she chose to hatch because she heard whispers about a scribe writer. So she would have, I don't know if she would have chosen her that time. Maybe she would have waited. She would have chosen
She
her.
didn't speak up until the end, so even if she locked on and was like, you could be mine. We didn't get any of those internal thoughts, so...
I do think these dragons are a bunch of bitches. I hate them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to like them later, but I hate them right now. I don't like that self-righteousness.
Chapter 42. The conversation with the 3 Irid left continues. Violet cannot keep silent when Andarna is referenced as a horror and speaks up to defend her. They flat out refuse to return and help achieve peace. They have been observing parts of the journey and have determined peace is not what the humans seek. We get a little insight and knowledge about Brennan from the female Irid, as she says that they should just let the corrupted devour the land, and when they're faced with starvation, they can confront the evil they've become, and they'll either die or change. When Andarna asks how this can be possible, she states possibly their offspring can evolve, but then says there's no cure. There is no trade made. The earth does not keep part of the soul the wielder exchanges. The soul dies, and death has no cure. Andarna is desperate for answers and explains how she burned a dark wielder, so their kind must have been instrumental in achieving the semblance of peace the continent has been in. But the female she's been conversing with gets even more frustrated and moves to leave. One last exchange between her and Andarna. She says, "You are magic, and yet all you seek to use it for is violence." Andarna rebuttals with, "You preach peace while only having known its privilege." And then our sassy little girl shows her true colors and says, "You all are a disappointment to me." Leothin realizes Violet did not know Andarna was just a juvenile and starts to give some insight about dragon eggs and dens, but Xaden gets close enough to be included in the conversation and all goes to shit. The Irids leave, Andarna runs away, and now Riddick knows the truth about Xaden.
I love a sassy Andarna. I can always say that.
She's experiencing heartbreak and just so much in that moment, and she still is like, you know what? No, you guys are a disappointment.
Yeah.
I was proud of her for that moment, for just sticking up for herself after feeling like she was ripped apart.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of bitches.
Have we actually gotten the answer for the venom cure?
Are you saying, is it true that there is no cure?
Well, she says that there's no cure for the ones that are there, right? But she says, let's just let them devour the land. And when they're starving, they'll have to make a choice. And that their offspring can choose to evolve and no longer take from the earth. It would just start all over again.
Yeah.
The cure is to just let the ones that are venom die out.
That's what they leave it up to as chance.
That's what she's saying. That's the only way to get rid of them, is let them all die out and all their children decide not to be that way anymore. Is what I got.
I feel like there's still secrets that they're not revealing so much that we could use, that the information I feel like we are looking for with Jacinia, since a lot of it is missing. They're constantly looking for the answers, and I feel like that portion of the information we're being kept away for a reason, whether the Venom are the ones that are actually stealing the information or whoever is actually stealing it. There has to be a cure somehow, some way, and this is all we know from the last couple of years, is that they can just let them die, and in the future generations hopefully come back.
I think it's because she's watched it happen. I think that Irid specifically, that's how she's seen it happen. So that's what she thinks.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a cure as much as they may have a way that you can live with it and not be considered a bad guy.
Oh, I don't know, because she hates when Xaden walks up, she's like, nah, that's an abomination.
But do they think it's an abomination because the humans chose to draw power from something other than dragons? Or is she just pissed because you didn't go through dragons to get magic? You went through something else?
I don't even know if she necessarily likes people going through dragons for magic.
That's true.
I don't know her stance. I don't know who she is.
I just feel like the best possible way to deal with this is to drain, like you said, every island, every continent of all its magic, and then you don't have people tempted to drain magic because there's no magic to drain.
Well, that might be what happened on the Isles.
But then wouldn't that get rid of dragons?
And choice.
Would it get the dragons would all die?
That's, I think, the question is, like, would they die without having that connection with humans? Probably not. But, like, would it lessen over time or would it get stronger? Their magic.
I don't know, because the Irids are a different breed, so I'm not sure.
And how many breeds are there?
The fact that she was like, there's, what did she say, thousands of us?
Hundreds.
And later on, Tairn says, I'm the second strongest dragon on the continent. That's him even admitting, I know that there are way more dragons out there.
I can't get into that. I'll get pissed. All right. Andarna pushing through her pain to make sure she asks the right questions for Violet. That just was very touching to me.
I feel for her in this because it's just them being like peeled apart. They disagree with every action they've taken from practically day one of threshing. Andarna's trying to prove that like Violet does care for her, that she's trying to help her grow, and even Andarna does things that they both tell her not to, between Tairn and Violet, but that she's also trying to prove herself. You know, she's more than just the golden little egg in the corner.
Yeah, she's not a baby. Why are Irids so different even in the way they view bonding to humans?
They're so different as a whole. That is, I have no clue, because obviously they don't like to bond humans because they choose to live somewhere where they cannot bond humans.
Well, or
they say they don't have humans.
They do say they don't have humans, but they're just...
They talk about humans like they're little pets, too.
They do.
This is my human. This is my dog.
But then conversely, they also, the Irids specifically, talk like the human has more power.
In some parts, I'd say, yes, I agree to that. But then other parts, what's that dragon's name? Leo? I don't know.
Yeah, Leo. Leothan.
Yeah, what a name. He straight up just ignores Violet when she says things like she's nothing. So that just makes me think they went off and they were like, we don't have to live with humans to be successful. Why are we living with them? They're all so mean.
The last part of this, we see Riddick in this chapter have a big role, and it just makes me very scared for the coming books. I'm like, please just don't take him.
I think you said last chapter she's preparing us to take them.
Especially Riddick. He's just our comedic relief, too. He's got such a big
The
heart.
funny ones always die, too.
He does.
They always kill the funny ones. I feel like they purposely make a side character super funny and sweet, and you fall in love with them, and then boom, boom, bam, dead. Probably going to get eaten by an Irid or something crazy like that.
Oh, my God. Chapter 43. Drake coming in with the chapter starter, talking about the Venon's markings being able to blend in the night. Mira and Arik get back from searching the smaller islands, and Violet is pleading with Riddick not to out Xaden and give her a chance to talk to him first. Riddick relents and tells them solely about the Irids. Riddick and Violet take off under the guise of hunting for dinner with a mad Atrum in tow. Riddick lets loose on how upset he is about more secrets being kept after the last time they had to deal with this. Everyone that knows them is more invested in Xaden's safety than hers. Violet gets so impassioned in defense of Xaden that she wields and strikes a tree very close to Riddick. Riddick finally breaks through Vi's stubbornness and makes her set ground rules for turning Xaden in or killing him. They are killing another rider without cause or harming civilians, hurting my friends, hurting my dragons, or hurting me. They leave the Isles and make the solemn 10-day journey back to Deverelli, where they rest for a day and plan a flight path to reach the continent. Dane seems to be catching on to differences in Xaden and Violet's proximities. Once they reach the flight field, Andarna leaves for the Vale, and Violet is crushed and embraced by Ree. General Aetos is there to break up the reunion. He starts by torturing Kat with the news that she is now closer to the crown, purposely alluding that it could be her sister Serena who's met an unfortunate end. He then hands Violet a letter from Theophany that he's read, and once again we know that she's been made aware of Violet's movements. Serena and Takaris live, but Queen Mariah is dead. Takaris is king.
I hope that General Aetos slips on shit, falls into vomit, catches on fire, and burns to death, because I think I might make him my Malik. I might change it from Brennan to him for now. That is just so mean. holding that over a cat's head.
Everything he does is just awful.
That's actually one of my questions. Why does he choose to pick on Cat?
I think it's just he had information that he could use to pick on someone. So he just used it and then twisted the knife. Is General Aetos, like, if you were to compare him to Venin versus Navarre, is he on, do you think he's like, we're going to find out he's on the Venin side? Or do you think he's just really a bad dude, but still fighting for Navarre and is stuck in his ways and he thinks one certain way? Or do you think he's going to, like, he is on the Venin side?
I'm not even so sure he's not so corrupt that he doesn't even know what he wants anymore. We learned that Panchek is in cahoots with the Venin, and he's like blindly following Panchek, or that's what we're made to see. I don't know if he is like, we need to keep it from the general population. That's just his goal, is like, we need to keep our people safe, keep them from knowing anything about it, and just fight.
Like, what could he gain from being in alliance with the Venin? He still could be one of the ones that's working internally with them, but what does he gain out of this other than just being a
The only thing I
piece of
could
shit?
think is he's power hungry, so maybe they promise him power that Navarre can't promise. I mean, he does have a
then-
really high position in Basgiath
He
now.
does
He's
now,
the,
yeah.
over the war college. But I just wonder if power is his ultimate motivator, because it seems like that in the first book and in the second book.
I mean, we know he knows how to communicate with the Venin and somehow, because he set up for them, the Violet and Xaden and all of them, to be taken by surprise
Yeah.
during the
those
war
traps.
games. He knows how to communicate with them.
Maybe he's working with Theophany. And Panchek was working with Berwyn.
Maybe.
It's an internal war games with the Venin.
This is all just one big war game. All right, I kind of forgot the Flyers have been fighting the war with the Venin for as long as the others have been ignoring their existence. But Drake, with the chapter headline, just really brings that back into view for me. So
Makes me wonder how old Drake is.
that's what I was like, how old is he?
Yeah. Or like what they've, like you said, like what they've studied for knowledge sake. So, because I do feel like they have a little bit more insight. Are they the ones that uphold the gods in a different way than Navarre does?
They worshipped them a little bit more.
I wonder if they just have more history text of like how things have played out more than what we see is missing from the archives, I guess.
Well, now that they're teamed up, have they fully shared their
No.
knowledge?
That I think that's still a given. I still feel like it's not that they're on the outs, but they're still on the outs. They haven't shared and revealed everything.
I also think that their relationship with the Gryphons is more balanced than the riders with the dragons, because the Gryphon chooses to make the bond to where they perish as well.
I didn't expect to care as much as I did in the fact of like seeing that bond unfold in the way that clearly they care about their riders more than is ever shown, and they do everything they can to even have those last few seconds near them. Like, that was just heartbreaking. I expect that from Violet and Tairn,
Yeah.
but I also know that from what we've been told, Tairn can outlive his rider as well. So if he chooses.
Do we know who killed Queen Mariah? We assume it was from a Venin attack, but could Takaris be caught up in a deal with Cortland and Queen Mariah was in the way? Is that when Cortland's going to call in his favor for Xaden and Violet's power?
I think that the Venin killed her, but I think the humans that are on the Venin side
Orchestrated it?
I guess reading it, I didn't picture King Cortland being a big major role in that, but he could be.
When he says to kill everybody, he says leave Takaris out. I just feel like maybe they're scheming together.
There's a very good chance. Everyone in this, we learned that everyone on the Isle is power hungry. So they're probably going to do whatever they can do to gain that power. And they know the continent is vulnerable. So this is their chance. This is their chance to grab the dragons to get the power. So it would not surprise me if there was something going beyond the Venin. We know that Venin killed her because it was wasn't it that tornado fire that killed that entire city? It killed like 40,000 people in one sweep.
Okay.
Isn't that where she died?
I mean, I just don't know. We don't have the death receipts on how it happened.
That's
I
true. We
feel
don't
like.
have the death
So,
receipts, and she could be alive.
That was my only.
Her, Liam.
All right. Chapter 44. For the most part, everything back on the continent is back to normal, with everyone's schedules resuming. The first battle brief reveals the Venin are gaining land and power in a big way. Professor De Vera holds no bars and goes straight into questioning the second years, forcing Violet to make realizations she would rather ignore. Theophany is wielding storms to allow the Venin to travel undetected, meaning her rank can be no less than Maven, with decades more of experience than Violet had previously thought. Now it's Rhee's turn to get uncomfy when she has to speak up and say her choice as a leader would be to send Violet in against Theophany and combat Storm with lightning. This causes unease between the squad. There's about to be even more unease because it's time for Violet to come clean to the rest of them, including Jesinia. Sawyer receives a small pep talk from Violet to get back on the horse.
I just read that and I was like, I don't remember a horse in this chapter. But you mean like, get back on the horse, get back on your dragon.
Yeah, turn a phrase.
I said it the last episode. I think that this is going to play a huge part and is foreshadowing that Rhee is going to have to make the decision that either gets Violet killed or badly injured, but she's going to have to be the one to send Violet off. Sawyer is like, no, you can't do that. Like, she's not powerful enough. You can't send her to her death. Because he's only thinking as a friend, and Rhee has the responsibility to think like a general and a friend.
Yep.
So,
And Violet tries to ground her on that. She's like, just because you care for me as a friend, remember my power. Remember how you would use me in battle.
I wouldn't be a good general. I would say, okay, here's the front line. Everyone I care about is going to be in the safe and the far back away from the front line.
Well, I think that's why Violet isn't ever given that role, because she would take everything on herself. She would never divvy it out to anybody else. She would just take all responsibility. And that's why she knows she wouldn't make a good leader.
This is kind of like on a separate note. I think I'm tough enough to be a dragon rider. I think I could do it. The only thing I think about, like, if I dislocate a elbow or shoulder or whatever, I can survive that. Stab me. I don't care. If I had a tummy ache the day of war, I don't know if I'd be able to do it. If I felt like even the tiniest feeling of like I need to throw up, I'd be like, guys, I have to sit this one out. I need to lay down. Can someone get me a Sprite with crackers? I feel like I might throw up. It could happen. I'd feel better if I did, but I'm going to take the whole day.
Dramamine.
Dramamine, Pepto-Bismol. There's one thing that's my kryptonite, and it's a tummy ache. So everything else, snap my fingers. I don't care. A tummy ache, I don't know if I can make it.
How would you react knowing you're up against a much stronger and experienced opponent, but you're the best shot your people have at victory?
You just gotta buckle up and do it.
Unless you have a tummy ache.
I don't think I'd even second guess it, especially because I can definitely relate more to Violet than Rhee on this. Like, I do care about the ones that I love a ton, so it wouldn't be hard for me to say I'm the best shot, so I gotta give it a shot.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Especially if I know that going in. Like, I'm not going to risk someone else just taking my spot, knowing that that's not going to go any better than if I gave my all.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe, though, the realization in the moment would give your confidence a little bit of a stab right to the gut. They're a maven, which you thought previously maybe they're just a sage. Damn, I wish I had about 100 years to train this fucking signet.
So not only is she going up against someone who's had hundreds of years, we assume, of more training, but she also was a priestess. So did she be able to translate that power into when she became Venin?
I don't know, because did the god snatch it away? Because obviously the god doesn't respond well to venening.
You're right. Theophany is very strong. We do find out she's the maven, but at the same time, at every turn of events where she is presented herself to Violet and she keeps showing her, you will choose me to teach you. You can just see her power already. And the fact that she kind of toys with Violet in the way that she can kind of wield her power, as a venin. It's almost like they're pairing each other too well.
Chapter 45. Violet has another nightmare with the venin sage trying to get her to come to him. Lightning, silver hair, and the sword of Tyrandor are in this one. Violet is dealing with the disappointment of her friends learning she's been keeping a secret from them again. Plus, now she knows Theo has to be a maven, and she's just plain scared. There's no way to train her signet enough to be able to fight that. She opens the package given to her the previous day, and it's a nightgown from Xaden. Ooh la la. Transition to Violet and curmudgeony Tairn banter. That was rough. Transition to Violet and a cranky. Transition to Violet and cranky Tairn banter on the flight field, which is a good mooster.
Mooster!
What is happening?
It's a mood booster. It's a mooster.
It's a mooster. It's a good mood booster. The writers are learning a new maneuver to fight venin. These words are rough in this one. To fight venin and stay off the ground as much as possible. Bodhi completes it flawless. Bodhi completes
I'm going to start calling him Booty. Instead of Bodhi, you need to call him Bodhi.
I lost it on that one.
Okay, he completes it flawlessly. And we see some bond banter between Xaden and Violet. Andarna's curiosity gets the best of her, and she comes to watch until Violet calls attention to it. Everyone is practicing the move with success. Tairn and Violet have to modify it, as always, but they do, and they're successful. Auric surprises everyone by taking out the biggest threat, the professor wielding the projection instead of the actual projection everybody's been practicing on. Violet gives Xaden an onyx cuff and a letter for his birthday. We learn that Xaden now has a goal: resist channeling and reach stability. Felix shows up and he's ready to train Violet some more.
I want to know if that's her dream or if it's Xaden's. I highlighted, it does say wisps of silver hair blow in the breeze at the edge of my vision. So it makes me think that this is actually her dream.
Yeah.
He doesn't have silver hair, but then I was like, is she talking about the sages has silver hair?
And
then I spiraled.
She is seeing herself hold the sword, right?
The sword of Tyrandor.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is she holding it, or is it just in? Is it in the sage's hand?
It's in the sage's hand.
Yeah, I'm like, I think it's in the sage's hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
it rushes towards her chest.
That's right.
I don't know a lot about the Sword of Tyrandor, except it is the star in these couple of chapters because it's mentioned about 5,000 times.
And it's old.
I highlighted it and said, what is happening? Because I don't know if this is her dream. It feels like it's actually her dream.
That's what I said. I said, what is Violet gaining from these dreams? Was this another one of Xaden's, or was she in another place?
I think it was her dream.
Especially the hair. I do
Yeah.
agree with you. That was the only thing indicator that even when I was reading it just was like, are we actually just kind of terrified now that this is what she's predicting could happen?
Do you think that he's visiting her dreams now because he is also a dream walker and he wants to test her abilities because he has hunches?
I thought he was, because I thought that's how he was getting to Xaden to begin with.
Yeah.
And that she was just kind of walking into it, being near him.
The only other time we've seen the Sword of Tyrandor so far is when Halden has it, and then he tries to give it to Cortland, and then Xaden takes it back.
And that's it. That's the only time we've seen it.
So Xaden has the sword now. Has he...
What if she's seen into the future? What if she's seen Xaden is the one plunging the sword into her heart? Because it's the Sword of Tyrandor. He's the one that has it. I don't know if he took it with him when he decided to go to the dark side officially. But whoa.
You're seeing a fan theory develop right before your eyes, everyone. All right, next question. Just forget Emily. Auric continues to see the big picture. When is he going to share his insights with the class? Because I'm literally dying. I would definitely defect to Theophany for knowledge at this point.
I kind of like that.
I would be Venin.
I do have that highlighted. I don't know if it's this chapter, But why is he so secretive? I get it. The whole intrinsic, you die immediately if they find out thing.
Well,
But it just doesn't make sense why he's being so... Everyone's so secretive. Everybody.
He's trying to figure out who his allies are. He says he keeps his mouth shut until he knows what the game is. And he doesn't know what the game is yet.
How could he not trust Violet?
There's so much more information that we don't see, but I feel like already his training in like growing up under the castle, he's got a lot more knowledge that he just decides to throw out there. Like when he knows all the languages and doesn't decide to share, he's like, well, I just thought I'd let you guys figure this out. I'm going to step back. I'm going to watch. And then when I feel like I can really interject here, then I will show how this is my game to play.
He also makes a point to say he wanted Dane on the trip. Violet and Xaden exchanging gifts gave me all the hard eyes.
I pictured it when in High School Musical, the great classic blockbuster film, when Zac Efron gives Gabriella the necklace with the T on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I picture like high school gift exchange for
Troy.
some reason. T is for Troy.
Bolton.
I forget that they kind of are in high school, so
Yeah, they're little babies.
They're not in high school. They're in college.
they're like high
War
school
college.
age.
I thought they were like 19 to like 20 something.
Yeah,
They
I was
are.
19 in
They're
high school.
Babies. I was.
I
No.
was. I was because I got held back.
All right, chapter 46. 3 weeks of Violet full-out training has elapsed, with Xaden still refusing to be physically together. But they have been having nightly talks through the bond. Now it's been 10 days since Xaden has been called away to Tyrrendor, and Tairn is miserable to be around. Andarna is spending all of her time in the Vale. The wards are getting weaker and weaker, and the Venin are advancing. The squad led by Ree is heading out to Eratia to be accompanied by Kaori, Felix, and Panchamp. Panchamp. I keep calling him a Pokemon. Panchamp. All right, Pancheck as leadership. Ree is interrupted by the Duke of Chaldeer being thrown through the doors by Llewellyn, followed by a very decisive and amber-eyed Xaden, and then a fuming Halden. The argument is over if Tyrrendor will accept people who are fleeing from Drathis, to which Xaden is adamant will happen, while Halden is the complete opposite. Halden is being supported by Chaldeer and Xaden by Llewellyn. Auric is thrown into the conversation by Halden, but gives a very different response than his brother was hoping for. The conversation ends with Halden threatening to attack Eratia with his troops and Xaden threatening the prince's life. Then Auric reminds his brother he doesn't technically have control of most of his troops. It's Xaden. Lynx manifests shadows, prompting a broody Xaden to be even more broody, while Violet fights to make him see that the ice is not where he wants to stay. Llewellyn reappears, and he and Xaden must solve a mining problem that's never been talked about before, but apparently has the attention of Melgren. The chapter ends with Llewellyn counseling Violet on how to be the partner of someone who's in power and urging her to see where her priorities need to be and that they need to find balance. True to her stubborn self, Violet tells him her priority will always be Xaden. Xaden comes first, and that her and Xaden are already balanced. Here we see Auric letting his signet show, but he hasn't told anyone that it's manifested yet.
No,
That was...
and I'm mad at him for that.
Yep.
Does
Oh wait, can I ask something real quick?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna do it anyways. Llewellyn, I just want to know who hurt him, because the way he's talking to Violet in this scene, I feel like it seems like he is talking from experience.
Probably Xaden's mom.
You think that they were hooking up on the side?
I'm just saying, because the way he talks about, you have to put Tyrrendor first. Maybe it was Finn Riorson that he was in love with. Maybe.
And maybe that's why he never loved Xaden's mom.
Maybe.
Maybe he only did it to have heirs.
He hated the marriage pact.
He
Yeah.
literally made that very clear.
Mm-hmm.
That he did not love her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I called him a dick.
Yeah, he is a dick. All right.
God bless his soul.
Does the Duke of Chaldeer have a name and I've missed it? Or
Nope.
do we just only refer to him as the Duke of Chaldeer?
No, he's
That's his identity.
half cow, half deer.
Man, bear, pig.
Man, bear, pig, exactly. Oh, South Park.
And I'm just going to go ahead and jump ahead. Yes, Llewellyn is both a place and a person
It
because
is.
that is all
Confusing.
over Book Talk.
But is it on purpose?
You'd have to ask Rebecca.
Like, Llewellyn is a place in Tyrrendor, I'm pretty sure, and also an individual that is
It
like
is.
the second counsel to Xaden throughout all of
Why
this.
would we name him the same as the place
I don't
and
know.
never differentiate between the two? Halden getting his dick pushed in by Xaden, followed by his own brother. I just really, really enjoyed that. That was good for me because I hate Halden.
Wait, what do you mean?
What?
Oh, like he gets basically in trouble by Xaden with
He's-
his brother right there.
Well, yeah, and he's like, "I'm the prince. I'm in charge," and Xaden's like, "Not of my province.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, it's a dick measuring
I
contest.
own
Yes.
my
Yeah.
province, and no, you stay the fuck out." And then he's like, "Well, I'm gonna send my troops there." And then Aric's like, "You don't own most of the troops
Yeah.
that can fight, so just go sit back down, little prince boy."
No, now I get what you're saying.
That
I'd never heard
was
the
just-
term "dick pushed in." I just have never heard it. It could be a phrase people use
It
all the
might
time.
not be. I might have made it up
You made it up right here, right now.
right now.
I feel like it was coming, though, because basically Halden wants so badly to put Xaden down with his ex-relationship with Violet and feeling like he still owns her in any capacity of her emotions and feelings. And Xaden's like, are we really going to go there? We can really measure. Let's pull it out.
Yeah.
In that moment, he is so like that. But then when he's talking to Violet, I'm mad at him. I want to punch him in the face. I'm
Yeah.
like, you're being a little wussy right now. You're complaining, and I know he's brooding, but she basically lays her heart on a silver platter, and he's not for me, not today.
Yeah, he does. He just turns his back and walks away to deal
Yeah.
with the mining issue.
And
she's like, listen to me and take what I'm saying seriously. And he's like, I got to deal with this.
Yeah. When I read this the first time, I was like, is this it? Or is this like basically our last little love chapter with them? Because I wouldn't talk to him again, probably. Big grudge holder.
Do we agree with Xaden that Link's manifesting shadows is balance?
No.
I don't either.
I'm real curious about that because I still question the whole Theophany one. Did she only gain powers after Lilith died of the same type? Or
I don't know. I don't understand where this theory came from of like, well, there can only be one that has this, and if it's not, it's unbalanced.
I think Xaden's just trying to find any justification into like looking for signs that he's losing himself.
that he's fully
That
becoming
he's
Brennan.
fully becoming Brennan. Just because there's only been one signet of this type at this period of time doesn't mean two people can't have that signet.
Yeah,
Doesn't ever say that.
We're shown multiple intrinsics, so
he is trying to be realistic.
I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I think
It's not a good look for him.
He's just basically wanting everyone to accept his fate. Sometimes he loses himself to the point where he's just like, I'm done. This is happening and you need to accept it. And that's what's more annoying to me because I get you're fighting, I get you're trying, and I get you are trying to be realistic. But at the same time, pull it together. You haven't been gone yet. And while I still have you here, let's work through whatever we can.
he is dealing with the loss of emotion, so he is probably struggling to connect in that area as well. So,
Nope. No sympathy for him. I'm
Making it
mad.
harder.
is Violence right? And her and Xaden are already balanced, and she already holds the key to his cure, his soul.
I think she's going to be the key in some kind of capacity. I just hope it's not love is the answer. And
I
I've
don't-
said that before.
I don't think there's any balance whatsoever. They 100% are full speed ahead for their love for each other. Could it be that this whole series ends with they choose each other over humanity? Probably could. That's potential. So, no, I don't think it's balance whatsoever.
It's just toxicity all the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Violet
but in
even-
a way that I love.
Yeah, Violet even asks him, like, am I going to have to just accept the fact and join you so that
Yeah.
Gale and Tairn can stay together too? Because that is the only other option here if you completely turn Venom and we have no one fighting.
We're going down, 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 down.
Sugar, we're going down swinging. Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
No balance.
Chapter 47. Vi, Tairn, and Andarna meet an apprehensive Sawyer and Somebody say this for me.
Sleeseg.
Okay. In the flight field before the others arrive to leave for Erasia, Sawyer and
Sleeslug.
have words, and Violet confirms once again she'll never understand another rider and dragon bond. Violet brings up Naolan and is met with complete shutdown from Tairn and a glare from Andarna. Sawyer succeeds in reaching his seat. Woo! Violet takes a moment to speak directly to Andarna and tells her she's entitled to grieve and that she can talk about it, but Andarna points out that no one around her talks about their grief. Violet doesn't, Tairn doesn't. He literally just refused to. So then the moment of Sawyer's success is witnessed by the rest of the squad, plus Dane and Bodhi. Everyone is thrown into celebration by an ecstatic Riddick, whether they want to be or not. Ree feels guilty that she couldn't contribute to Sawyer's success, but is reassured by Violet that she did everything necessary to help. The crew touches down in Erasia, and everyone is set to go to Ree's house for the evening. Violet shares a moment with Bodhi, and he convinces her to stay in Xaden and her's room. Brennan comes to Violet and tells her he can't mend Xaden, and they've tried a number of things to cure him. Next, they will try and mend the spot in Bag's Gaiath, talking about where he originally channeled.
Why do I feel like Riddick is our Joey from Friends? Like, I know that's a completely random thought, but he is.
He is. He ran up and he's like, yeah. And then Sleestag's like, "Arr," and he's like, okay, from a distance. The sore subject of Naolan does nothing except spark more curiosity for me.
It adds so many questions, but what if it's just like really Naolan died and
We're overthinking it.
I think every single person that's read this book thinks Naolan is alive and that he's Brennan because it doesn't ever say that he died. But I just think would be so funny if Rebecca wrote it as like, no, he really just died, and Tairn has had a hard time processing that.
It's a Jack Barlow situation.
Yeah.
We all play him up to be this big character, and he's just like
He's not.
there for
Yeah.
fuck's sake. Our sassy little dragon showing her support for her surrogate father and not only her defense of him to Violet, but also outwardly mimicking his scales still is just the most precious thing ever.
I love the little found family.
I know. I also really liked seeing Ree and Violet get to have their friendship come to light again. Like,
Yeah.
we've been missing them having connection for a while now, and seeing that they're both still leaning on each other and talking and confiding, I was just like, thank God.
I want more of their friendship in the next book, and I think we'll get it because Xaden will be in it less, or he'll be traveling alone, and we'll get Xaden chapters instead of it being just Violet. But I want more of Ree and Vi. And I think I just really like friendships a lot in almost any book because my first fantasy series was Harry Potter, and that is a love story about friendship. And so I want more friendship in the next book.
Friendship is magic.
Friendship is magic.
Hashtag My Little Pony. That is their slogan.
Friendship is magic.
Friendship is magic.
Not sponsored.
Hasbro, don't come for us. Brennan in this chapter, you guys know he's not my favorite. Is he to be trusted? He comes in and starts talking about how he knows Xaden is Brennan. And Xaden doesn't even tell Violet, hey, I'm going to tell your brother, which we know they don't share all their information. But don't you think that would be kind of something he'd be like, listen, I'm telling your brother?
Not based off how the last chapter or how the chapter ended before, because they get in that argument and he's brooding. They hide stuff from each other all the time.
They do. It's just have a mistrust for Brennan.
You're looking for slimy?
I might be looking for a slimy feeling.
I personally didn't get a slimy feeling. I got a kind of like an older brother feeling.
I didn't quite pick up on his sliminess there, but I agree. I know that we're always trying to find if Brennan is somehow just like turning on us, but
No cold, distant, red viney feeling from Brennan.
Nope.
Okay,
Not this episode or this chapter specifically.
fine. Chapter 48. Violet is reading a book from Takaris, who has kept his word even with becoming king. She is reading and pouting about not being any good at runes while everyone else around her catches on easily. We see her make a mental note of a repeating pattern in the book that she's reading. And it's the third time for her to see this. What the fuck it is, we don't know. Knock, knock. Knock, knock, Onyx Zaddy.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Knock, knock, who's there? It's Onyx Zaddy. Xaden shows up. He's flown 9 hours in the wrong direction during a storm to wind up at their home. He's at day 73 of no channeling in his self-imposed 76-day challenge, and he just held out beyond the wards. Sagel Bagel has decided this means the green light is lit and sexy time is on the menu for both of them. Here we go, baby. All right, as Xaden and Violet set boundaries while getting very handsy, she notes that he's using shadows with only his mind and that he doesn't want her to hold the conduit. He wants her at full power in case things go sideways.
Remember, kids, practice safe magic. Use a conduit.
Unless you're Xaden, then refuse it because you'll use it to channel and kill the one you love.
I got dark quick.
Man.
I don't think I mentioned it in the recap, but it tells us that Brennan, other than Xaden, have made choices to spare the ones they love. It talks about how there's one adult spared from like a town wiping and 3 children.
Yes.
And
we have no clue who they are.
We don't know who they are. So
It's the siblings. It's Mira, Violet, and Brennan. There we go.
Oh, fuck. They're adopted. They're adopted by the Sorrengails, and that was them? Shit.
I don't even know what year it is.
Exactly.
Because it says 472 AU.
Yeah.
What does AU stand for?
I need to know.
After university?
No, they have a...
Bags Gaiath was built, and now
We're
we're timelining.
All time. It's like before Christ, after Christ. After university, before university.
But wait. I need to say something else with the chapter start.
Yes, sorry.
Because I do think that is what Violet's noting, that she's seen happen 3 times. I don't know why I think that, but I just had this feeling
that she's noting that Brennan have saved their family.
Uh-huh. I do. That's what I think she's noting in Takaris's book. Even though
what does that mean?
I don't know. I don't even know.
What are you Googling what AU means? What does it mean?
Thank you.
What does it mean?
Okay, so it's just after unification and before unification.
I was so close. Unification and
So
university
close.
are a synonym.
I mean,
Same word. And I just need to know, what's our current timeline? What year are we on? Where are we in the world?
Well, we are AU.
yes, because the unification is like the major event in the series that happened, making the turning point of the political landscape.
Yeah. And
So
we
I think
have,
that's after the battle and everything.
and we have no knowledge of how that was made or how they won the war or anything.
And
So
not to
the
extent that we
greatest
need.
event that they base their entire timeline on, they know nothing about.
We know nothing.
It
about.
says-
They know everything.
It says 1 AU is just the unification of Navarre, obviously. 1 through 2 is the migration of the first years that we keep like hinting at, those first year riders, and you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Like the very first Riders of
Yeah.
Dragons. Yeah.
Okay, because first years I went to the little babies like Auric and Lynx. And
It says then 233 AU is the beginning of the war with Poor Emil. And then 328 AU is the second Signi incursion, which is Signisan is absorbed into the kingdom of Poor Emil, which I thought,
Who's writing this?
I don't know, this is just Google. I'm just
No, I trust. I mean, we should make the timeline. I'm curious.
we should. Let's do that. But I'm just a girl, so I won't be a part of it.
Just a girl.
I love the well the fuck aware line that she keeps using. It just gives me warm and fuzzies. Sarcasm is my love language, and Zaddy Boy can speak it. 76 days is Xaden's self-imposed little challenge, and it's 2 times longer than Jack Barlow went after his first big channeling, which apparently was when he channeled at the cliff. So was Jack trying not to channel before that, or did they know he channeled and were keeping tabs on him every time he did and just allowing him to stay in the college and go there even though they knew he was Brennan? Or was he an experiment from the beginning?
I don't think he was an experiment. I think that he was just trying not to channel because he was working with the Brennan, and if he kept channeling, it would be obvious that he was Brennan. So I think that he was trying not to channel because he needed to stay undercover.
So you don't think it was like
Undercover
Bagskaith,
agent.
the War College, and like all of that using him as an undercover officer instead, and like he is really actually good, and that's why he saves Violet? Were they trying to get a writer on the inside of the Venin as opposed to the other way around?
Would they treat him like they're treating him now if that was the case?
I mean, we've only seen one rescue attempt, if you want to even call it that. I think Theophany was trying to kill him, to be honest.
Because he knows too much.
Yeah. The first time that we see her channeled in and then she leaves, I don't think she was trying to rescue him, but that's just me.
Well, that might even support them turning him and using him to get knowledge on the Venin more. Like that they're trying to kill him because they didn't know
that he was bad.
And now the Venin are like, oh, we got to kill him because he has too much info.
That's not a bad idea.
Something I realized is that Violet.
Do you have dyslexia today or something?
Violet can kill Venin. Daggers imbued with magic can kill Venin. And Andarna can kill Venin. Does anybody else without using a dagger that's been imbued, can they kill Venin?
I don't think we've seen anything like it yet.
It's never explicitly said that someone's used their power to kill the Venin, except Xaden. We assume Xaden has.
No. I mean, he tried to kill the sage, but he threw him off a cliff. So
Well, that's on him.
a
That was
bonky
bad
on the
idea.
head didn't work. Plus, he was Venin at that point, so he thought he could use the Venin power to kill the Venin.
Can two Venins kill each other? Do two negatives equal a positive?
Or are they positives?
I wonder if they can. Because then it would just make so much more sense for Theo and the other sage guy to just kill each other and fight off, and then one takes the world.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out that, like, everybody around Violet is using
Daggers.
imbued daggers that are the only thing that can supposedly kill them. And she's just like, Xaden even makes a point, I want you to be the weapon to kill me. What is significant about her power other than it's lightning?
It comes from the sky.
Yep.
I think that's what it is.
And that's why Andarna can do it, because her power comes from the sky.
Yeah.
What is it with the sky? Wait until the water dragons come.
Just about to say that.
Then it's really going to take off. Spotlight?
We can go to Spotlight if you'd like.
Yeah.
So this is more of just an observation that I've made recently, and I might be totally wrong, and it might be two different genres. But with Smut trending and the general population reading it and being like vocal about it, we seem to have adopted a new term called Romantasy for it. And I just wanted to point out that all my fellow Smut readers who were hiding their book covers and their Kindles when it wasn't widely accepted to read, I see you. I feel your embarrassment. I'm glad to no longer feel ashamed of what I'm reading in public, but I need the Romantasy people to know that you should appreciate your newfound genre freedom because it wasn't always there.
So should we bury you with your Kindle so that your mother doesn't have to go through it? Or
She already knows.
Sure.
She's already reading the books. I've since shared them.
is there a difference in Smut and Romantasy?
Yeah.
I mean, Smut on its own is just more the explicit sexiness and that you can get in romance too. Like, it doesn't have to be. Romantasy is what people are using to say the romance heavy fantasy, where it's more romance than I personally think fantasy. Because not every fantasy book has romance in it.
No.
That's a huge thing too. I think Smut can be sprinkled in, yes, but Smut can also be like the dark romances that we read and stuff like that. Some
Yeah.
more of the heavier, like mafia romances and the definitely rated X.
I just want to know the line, though.
What was your question?
When does romance become smut?
When it's like explicitly on the page dirty.
I mean, these scenes aren't PG, so would these scenes be considered smut or still romantasy?
I don't think it's in
Emily.
the book enough to be like
Considered smut? How many
fully
times?
smut. I don't know.
I need to know. I want to know
I
the
do
line.
think that this book has smutty scenes in it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
but
think
it's not
there's
smut.
Personally, I wouldn't just categorize it as smut,
No, I wouldn't either.
if that makes sense. Like,
Oh,
I wasn't talking about just this book either.
Yeah.
I just feel like what's on my feed, like what comes up, and people are like, oh, Romantasy, and then I look at it, I'm like, dude, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think that was a great point to make because I think the terms are used so frequently and people are shamed for it, or we have been in the past. And it's like, especially with banned books becoming such a big priority now, like, let the people read what they want to read. We're not going back in that.
I'm going to do my own fan theory, just like I did my own spotlight, apparently. This is all about me. I think it's important to note that it's more than likely Asher took the name Sorrengail from Lilith, not the other way around, and that Xaden offers to also take the name Sorrengail once they're married. And we know that Ferris knew Asher from his former name Daxton, but Narelle knew him as Sorrengail. So my theory is that names hold power in both the human and dragon world, and Asher would be the one to make the most sure the difference is noted in history.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Names of people and the names of dragons. It all matters.
Yep. And we don't know
Half of
any
them.
of the correct ones.
Nope. And we don't say them right.
Nope.
We don't pronounce them right. Well,
Nope.
we give it our best try. Now let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Next week, we will be talking about chapters 49 through 55 of Onyx Storm. And be sure to check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Tune in every Friday wherever you get your podcast for a new episode of Book Thots.